Hi guys, my name is Kristen. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I make videos about motherhood and lifestyle, and today I want to talk a little bit about my biggest fears about motherhood and what they are, what they were, what they are now, and just how am I doing this? Okay, all right, let's get into it.
You blow my mind. I don't know if you know yet. Words all around, and I'm dying to tell you. Well, I know that by now it is obvious.
Guys, so I wanted to make a video about some fears that I had about motherhood going into it. Now my baby is about 9 months old, and I wanted to kind of circle back and take a look at the things that I was worried about and if they really were something to worry about or if it ended up being okay and I was just kind of in my head. So hopefully this will be helpful for women that may be thinking about having a baby or are pregnant right now and you're kind of freaking out because you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? So, because first of all, I just want to say that even though I make these videos, it totally does not mean that I know what I'm doing at all. And so I just want to preface that because I probably have the same exact fears and worries as many other people do out there. So I just want to make that very clear. So one of the things was everyone tells you they're like, you will, once you have kids, you will never sleep again. And so I was kind of worried about that because that's kind of an ominous thing to say to someone that you will never sleep again. And obviously, I knew people were being kind of like exaggerating a little bit, but at the same time, you think about like, man, am I really never gonna like sleep through the night again? You know, that's kind of scary. So, um, and it is kind of true. So, kind of. So it depends. So essentially, you do sleep again and you do sleep through the night again because your baby ends up sleeping through the night at some point, whether it be when they're a few months old or they're older. um, that does happen, but I would say what it really should be is you will never sleep in again. So that I feel like is more accurate, and that's not as scary as you will never sleep again. Because sleeping in is, nice. And I think of that more as like a very luxurious thing now in my mind versus the norm. I was never really someone at this point in my life before I had kids in my early 30s that I was like sleeping in. Sleeping in to me was maybe like sleeping till like 8:30 maybe. But I think when you have to wake up super early for work every day, your body just adjusts, and it's just a cruel thing that you can't even on the weekends sleep in anymore. But sleeping in till 8 or 8:30 is like sleeping in now. And so I would say that is more accurate, but it's definitely not something that, looking back, I don't know why I was worrying about that because that's not a huge deal. And your body adjusts, really. It's weird. You kind of, I think, the norm, your body can kind of like now, I can operate on a lot less sleep and I still feel like a normal human even if I've slept a few hours. It's very strange, but it's possible and your body can do it and it adjusts. Or I am slowly deteriorating and some and I'm like slowly losing my body function. But I don't know. Things seem to be going okay so far. So another big fear of mine, one of the biggest fears of mine through motherhood or when I was pregnant or about to have a baby was not having that connection with my baby. I think you read about it, you hear about it, that sometimes you don't have that kind of instant connection right away with your baby. Sometimes it doesn't happen for your partner. But I think I just didn't know. I didn't know what it would be like. What you don't know what it's like to be a parent or to have a baby until you have one. So I've had pets my whole life. I've had two dogs, and I kind of was like, is it like gonna be what it feels like? That feels like, and so you don't really know until you experience it. And I think for me, I did have an instant connection with the baby right away, but I think that it was definitely something that I was nervous about. I didn't know how it would be. I didn't know if I was going to give birth vaginally or a C-section. I didn't know if that would affect the connection that I had with the baby. I didn't know anything really. I just, I think your mind kind of goes in different places. You start to kind of think about, well, what if I don't have a connection with them? Is that going to affect my relationship with the baby? And you kind of go down this sort of path and you end up somewhere where you're like, what? But I think that what I did was I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I didn't put pressure on the baby. I just sort of let things happen naturally. And I think that sort of, if I can give any piece of advice that on that subject, that would be it. I think that I didn't even think about it once the baby was here, once he was in my arms. It just happened. And I think that it's something that you might not even think about either, or you might think about it. But I think that don't put too much pressure on yourself if you are having a really hard time recovering postpartum and that is the forefront of your mind and you are having a hard time connecting with your baby, because maybe that's your situation and that is totally fine too and completely normal and super common. And I think that it's hard as women. I feel like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be a certain way. And I think you see things on the internet that make you feel a certain way. And you want your experience with your baby to be perfect. And sometimes it's not. And that's okay too. So I think that don't be too hard on yourself if you don't have that super connection. If your partner doesn't feel super connected yet to your baby, that's really common too. And what I would say is to just give it time and try and find different ways that you personally can connect with. Maybe it is a song that you are super connected to and you play it for your baby, and that is something that you create this moment in memory, and that's this connection that you start building. So kind of think of different things like that, and hopefully that will help. Okay, so another fear of mine about motherhood was constantly worrying. I, by nature, am a bit of a worrier at this part of my life. I used to not be, and then I feel like I would say, like in my early 20s, I was not worried about a thing. Then I feel like once your life becomes more, you have more responsibility, you have more things going on in your life that are more serious, and you start to, just as you become a dark, jaded adult, you start worrying more about, just stuff. And so I think that I was worried that I would be worrying a lot. And I didn't know what it would be like. I didn't know if I would be constantly worrying that something was going to happen to the baby, if he was going to be okay, if I was doing the right thing. I guess I didn't know how I was going to react. And I think it was something that I did have a fear about motherhood, that, what was I going to be like? Was I going to be like one of those moms that's like, oh my God, like always kind of following the baby around, or the child around, which I don't know why I would be that way, because I'm not really like that. But I don't know. I thought maybe I am as a mom. I don't know. So that was something that I had a fear of. Turns out it didn't end up being that way. I am not constantly worrying about things. There are certain things that I do kind of think through, or I do worry a little bit about, but this idea in my head that I would be constantly worrying all the time, and that motherhood was going to just be super stressful, and I was going to be like, what am I doing? That happens sometimes, but it is not a constant thing that, really affects my life, daily life, in a negative way, which was more of what I was thinking that it would happen. And it's not like that. My last biggest fears, or my last thing on my biggest fears about motherhood list of things that I had, was my relationship would start to get weird with my partner. So that was one thing that I did think about. I did wonder about what it would be like once you have a baby. A lot of things change when you have a baby. A lot of your priorities change. A lot of your time and attention goes to a baby, and not so much your relationship and your partner. And I think, you go from being one way, and then you're kind of different after you have a baby. No matter no matter how much you try to kind of hold on to what you used to be like, I think that, or what you were like before a baby, after, you inevitably are kind of different. And I think that I had fears about that. I was thinking about how, would it be different? Would it be weird? You know, would it be weird because, is my body gonna be really different after I have a baby? And is that gonna make it weird? Is it gonna be weird because, my partner is going to see like a lot of funky stuff during childbirth, and that's gonna make it weird? Or I don't know. There's a lot of things to factor into that situation. And for us, it did not make it weird. So, if anything, that is something that I would say not to worry about, because if anything, it really doesn't make things weird. It makes your relationship, makes you like super bonded, and like super, I guess, and just like super connected in a way. I think that you're going through something with your partner that is unbelievable, and it's something that only the two of you are experiencing together. And that was something that that is something that is super special. And if anything, it is something that totally bonds you guys for life. And I think that that was something that I really did not need to be worrying about, because it actually is a super cool thing that happened. And I think something, if you are worried about this, I think something that worked really well for me was to really communicate with my partner about how I was feeling, how they were feeling, kind of checking in to see, you know, what they thought about things, being really open about your insecurities or things that you have fears about. I think that really helped me in my relationship as you're going through this kind of like monumental change in your life, and you're kind of both going through a huge change. So I think it's really important to kind of like stay connected and to really communicate through the entire process. And I think that will be helpful to kind of try to not make things weird at any point in the process. All right, guys, so that was just a few of the fears that I had, my biggest fears about motherhood that I was able to debunk once I went through the process and I'm now a mom. And if you have any similar fears or if you have fears about motherhood, leave them in the comments down below. Send me a message. I'd love to connect. And I would love to hear about your experiences, maybe what things that you were worried about but turned out to be no big deal in the end. I think it's really important to support each other and help each other through this process or help each other through this time in our lives, because it is a lot and it's helpful when you have friends to help you through it. So yeah. Alright guys, so thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment down below, and I will see you in my next video. Alright, bye guys.